E aí, gurizada, Kawasaki na Zanga Motos, porque cava é vida.
It's a perfect day. No? Look at this place.
Yeah, it started back in 1946. It was 1 year after the Second World War.
There was a time when you didn't know if your bike was going to start, you know. I mean, the bikes were so primitive, you know, your chains came off the sprockets, you know, the bikes stopped for no good reason. You know, it's come a long ways.
Nothing touches the Motocross Das Nações, nothing comes close to it. How many sports in this day and age can have one event at one venue or one field on one given day where every nation brings its 3 best athletes and lets them fight it out and see who wins? It doesn't get any better than that.
In a normal race, you race for your fee you get from your team. But here, you race for the flag, and that's so unique.
There's only 3 riders that get chosen to ride for your country. It's such a big thing and an honor to ride for your country.
This is the greatest off-road event in the world.
When I'm done racing, I want to be able to say that I've won this race at least one time.
We should win this event, you know, but we have to stay focused, because when you look that much of a favorite, that's when things can go wrong also.
This is for all the bacon right here, your last one, huh?
There's probably 10 teams that legitimately have a shot at winning. I mean, it wouldn't take a miracle.
I need to see you charge the whole race. Get me proud.
Maroli having a horrible moto right now.
Let's Creek, let me hear you make some noise for the 07 Motocross of Nations.
You got to go up there with your head on right. You got to go in there ready to fight the biggest fight you've ever been in your life.
Villapoto went down.
It's going to be a good movie, huh?
Motocross of Nations is the Olympic Games of motocross. An annual event, this team race draws the top 3 riders from each country. In 2007, the race was held in the United States near Washington, D.C. This is the story of what happened on that day, as well as the 60-year history preceding it. began shortly after the storm clouds of World War II had been blown off the European continent. 60 years later, the Motocross of Nations is still the most important and prestigious motocross event in the world.
I love this event, and I want the kids to feel what I felt and have that desire and the want to be on this team and come to this event like I did. I am a huge supporter of this race. Number one, the fans. I mean, the fans love it. It's just something that you have to do.
What I love so much about it as Nations is the fact that it's the only time of year that we can defend the colors of our country, and for me that's so special.
Wow, I mean, the first time I went, I was just blown away. I could not believe how cool the whole thing was.
"40 guys from every country in the world on the start line. It's just, it's overwhelming, you know. So I think it was the best moment in my entire career.
My best memory is always linked to the nation, because this is the greatest off-road event on the world.
The thing that I think of the most is when they would wear the red, white, and blue colors, and it was the special gear, and it was the only time of year that you've seen that. That's the thing that I remember is the gear. Yeah.
The first video I saw was, and all I can remember was Johnny O'Mara beating the 500cc guys on his 125. It was just neat from the first, you know, memory of it.
That first time you hoist the trophy, they fly the, you know, Stars and Stripes behind you, and they play the national anthem. The Star Spangled Banner starts playing, you know, you get all emotional, and I don't know, that's how it was for me. I was really proud. It was cool.
When I'm done racing, I want to be able to say that I've won this race at least one time.
Nothing touches the Motocross Das Nações, nothing comes close to it. How many sports in this day and age can have one event at one venue or one field on one given day where every nation brings its 3 best athletes and lets them fight it out and see who wins? I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, every great nation that races motorcycles will have a presence there. Canada, the United States, Belgium, Sweden, Norway, Germany, Spain.
I mean, it's unbelievable. We have teams from countries that you and I never even heard of. You know, it's the idea of competing for your country and seeing the flag up on that flagpole, you know, that attracted me at the time and attract them now.
Many people call it already Olympic Games of motocross. And that's exactly it. It's the concept that all the countries take part. They don't think about the money the moment they're on. And this makes it so special. It's not a normal race. In a normal race, you race for your fee you get from your team. But here, you race for the flag. And that's so unique.
What's so awesome about it, it's on one day, on one track. It just all plays out before you. It's as, you know, dramatic and majestic as it can get.
The loose, sandy surface soon becomes very rutted, and the riders get a real hammering.
Went down.
Yeah, it started back in 1946. It was 1 year after the Second World War. When the war was over, there was a lot of people who have, for the military, raced motorcycle. And I think they talk to each other and say, hey, why don't we do a race to meet each other, an international race?
The race was a success. It was held in Holland. And the FIM said, hey, we like the sound of this. Let's do this. Let's call it the Motocross des Nations. So in 1947 is when the Motocross des Nations was born. Nations such as Sweden, Holland, Belgium, and Great Britain raced in Holland that year, 47, and Great Britain won, and that was the first Motocross des Nations.
Several countries began to take part in the Des Nations, but Team Great Britain were the kings of the 1950s. The Brits ran through the competition for the entire decade.
And here they are. The three men who have proved yet again that British riders on British machines are a combination very much to be feared in international motorcycle sport.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Seeing the success of the Motocross des Nations in the early 60s, I believe it was 61, the FIM decided to create the Trophy des Nations, which is the same concept, except the riders, instead of riding 500cc bikes like they did in the Motocross des Nations, they'd all compete on 250cc bikes. So 1 week they would hold the Motocross des Nations in one nation, and a week later they'd hold the Trophy des Nations in another nation.
I don't really think they will ever believe it will be as big as this.
Through winning the Motocross des Nations in 1961 and 1962, Sweden came to form, becoming the world's most dominant motocross country.
Sweden was very strong at the time, and I remember the picture I remember today, and I have it at home somewhere in a book somewhere. You know, it's the four Swedish guys crossing the finish line, hand in hand, because they were so far ahead of everybody that they, you know, everybody was just left behind. And such a memorable event that I remember. I can see the picture in front of me right now.
They rode across the line like together. So dominant they were that year, the Swedes. That was like, you know, I was so in awe of those guys. I had a particular liking for the Swedish riders at the time when I was a kid growing up. They looked more professional, I thought, than any other teams. You know, they were all clean, the bikes were clean, they came to the races with clean trailers, you know, and today it's all summarized, but at that time it was cool to have a nice trailer.
From 1963 through 1967, Great Britain caught fire, winning 5 times in a row.
Lampkin's going, he's trying to get away on Hawkston Hill. Oh, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It needs the skill of an ace scrambler to get away on a gradient like that.
Since the beginning of the Des Nations, the Belgians had always been a major player, but in the late 60s they officially took over.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the tradition of motocross and where actually motocross was, let's say, invented. Actually, the Belgian riders immediately played a major role in motocross. So from then on, actually, every kid that would start riding motorcycles had a big tradition to keep up with.
The most legendary and iconic figure in Belgian motocross was Roger de Coster. De Coster and the Des Nations were synonymous with each other.
69 was the first time we won when I was on the team. Yeah, I won 10 times in the 250 and 6 times in the 500. I never went to a race thinking I could not win, but I never went to a race also thinking that, oh, it's going to be a walk in the park, you know. With me, it was like there was 2 things, you know, talking to me in my head. Like, one thing was telling me, yeah, you can beat those guys, no problem, you know, you better. Then something else would tell me from this side, you know, yeah, but, you know, 2 years ago, that guy was so good there, and, you know, you need to keep your feet on the ground, especially when things are going good.
A lot of things maybe young guys don't know, something about Roger, is that Roger truly was the ambassador of motocross around the world. I mean, Roger made it his business to go to places like the United States or Tahiti or South America or Australia. Roger raced around the world to help the sport and help make the sport better. He's just always been a winner. Anything he's done, he's a winner.
In the early 70s, Gunnar Lindström, a pioneer in the world of motocross, raced for and managed Team USA in their donations efforts.
Interesting, when I came to the US in the early 70s, there were really no emphasis from here on the Motocross Das Nations, and we actually put together a team and went to Europe and rode in Switzerland.
America was so far off the radar map then that when they introduced the team before the race in the opening ceremony, they were a novelty.
We didn't do very well, by the way.
Things started to change though, because Brad Lackey, who was a young California kid, had taken it upon himself to move to Europe, to train, race the Grand Prix, and America sent a team in '72, and Lackey actually finished in the top 10. That was like, all right, America, they're doing something over there now.
Whoever thought that motocross will be an American sport? I mean, we were in it so long before Americans. In fact, I hope you know that it was the Swedish guy who came here and learned the Americans to ride motocross. It was Torsten Hallman, a four-time world champion. He came here in '65, and in '66 there came more riders, and the whole started.
In the early 70s, there were some good American riders now that could race with the Europeans. I mean, from the beginning, it wasn't even close. I think when bikes became available in the mid-70s would be the crossover point where the Americans are equal to or better than the Europeans.
In 1974 in Sweden, the American team was second. It was Jim Pomeroy, Brad Lackey, Jim Wynant, and a very young Tony De Stefano.
While the Americans were gaining critical mass, it was the Belgian teams of the 1970s that ruled the decade. Led by De Coster, Team Belgian won 5 times, the exclamation mark coming in 1979 with De Coster's last victory.
In 1980, Roger De Coster retired, and he was hired on by Honda, so De Coster moved to America, and his primary objective was to turn Honda into a world-class motocross team here in the United States. And I think Roger knew that America was the next frontier. He knew that this was a sport that was right for America.
Roger De Coster at Honda said, I'll get a team together, and that was myself, Chuck Son, Daniel Laporte, and Johnny O'Mara. We was a second-rate team, and we weren't expecting to win.
Roger De Coster was on board and said, you know, I think we got the guys on Team Honda to do this. So it really set up a unique set of circumstances that set up this underdog environment. You know, I hate to make a reference to Rocky, but I mean, it was a little bit that way, you know, cheering for the underdog Americans.
Before, the teams were all scattered. You know, Yamaha would send a guy or 2 guys, and then Yamaha, Suzuki, they were all split up. No one worked together as a team. So when Honda decided to go as, you know, one manufacturer, we were already team members. So that was really the best solution for then and many years to follow.
Johnny O'Mara is probably the newest guy on the team. Incredibly talented rider, never been on a 500 before. And we go out to the Everett's training facility, and he gets on a 500. And he looks really dejected when he comes back in. And I said, what's wrong, Johnny? And he's looking down, you know, motocross used to be in cow pastures, and here's a cow pie. And he looks at that and he says, I'd rather eat that than ride that 500.
Everybody's like, this is going to just be a Belgian walkover, because they had Andre Vromans, who was world class, Harry Everts, Stefan's father, world class, former world champion.
I remember that, and you know, Team Belgium should have won easy.
because they were all sand riders and they knew Lomo.
All the guys were dressed in white JT gear, and every time I see the pictures to this day, it still blows me away how cool it looks.
I seen them, and I seen the GT racing clothes, and I mean that was so super cool.
So they go to line up on the gate for the first moto, and the gate drops, and everybody, I've seen pictures of this, everybody's leaned over, and it's Johnny O'Mara comes out of the first turn. Within a few laps, Vromans, it was a track Vromans had grown up on, Vromans found his way past O'Mara, but within 3-4 laps, the Americans were running second, third, and fourth. They're like, nobody could even believe it, and the moto ended like that. And then a week later, they went to Bilstein, West Germany for the Motocross Das Nations, which was for 500cc bikes, and America beat the United Kingdom by 1 point. So in the span of 1 week, America went from never winning and being taken seriously in the Motocross and Trophy Das Nations to winning both of them.
We shocked the world by going over there and winning both events on 2 different machines, 2 different sizes that year. That was the first time for the United States, and I am honored to say that I was part of that team.
Everybody, you know, they still talk about it. When they see the photo, I think it flashes back out of the magazine, and everything that I've ever done. I think the Nations was the most exciting moment, because there's nothing like a team spirit. There's been nothing that came close to that.
After Team USA's first victory in 1981, the Americans went on a spree. American riders such as Danny Chandler, David Bailey, Ron Lachine, Brock Glover, Mark Barnett, Ricky Johnson, and more than anyone, Jeff Ward, captured one Motocross Das Nations win after another. Team USA had won 5 years in a row, but no win was more impressive than the 1986 victory in Maggiore, Italy, where David Bailey, Ricky Johnson, and Johnny O'Mara swept the podium in every moto.
The most fantastic Motocross Das Nations that never leaves my mind and my eyes was in Maggiore 1986, when Johnny O'Mara passed all the top 500 GP riders one after one, and was second behind David Bailey.
Best Das Nations memory. 1986, Maggiore, Italy. Americans taking 1-2 in each moto, and O'Mara. I never seen anybody ride a 125 like Johnny did at Maggiore, Italy. Wow, just unbelievable.
And then it comes 87, first time in America. So 40 years on, the Motocross Das Nations comes to Unadilla, New York. And it's a real interesting team. It's Rick Johnson, then the dominant rider in America, Jeff Ward on the 500. And the 125 rider should have been Mickey Diamond, who was the 125 national champion that year. But somehow a big movement started that they wanted to put Bob Hanna, who was in the twilight stage of his career, on the team and give him one last shot at winning the Motocross Das Nations.
I knew that Bob, if he was put on the spot, that he would deliver. He is not a guy to crumble, you know.
After practice on Saturday, the team looks great, everything's going great. In the middle of the night, Rick Johnson told me this story. He wakes up about 4 o'clock in the morning and he could just hear it pouring down rain. And he's just like, oh man. It started off a little shaky. In the first moto, Ward didn't do quite as well as he thought he would, and Hanna ended up falling on a big uphill, and it took him 2 tries to get up the hill.
It was not an easy day, especially on the little bike, because it was so deep mud.
The second moto went a lot better. Johnson won his class, and Bob won his class. So it all came down to the final moto, and Rick won it, and Ward did what he needed to do, and America did win, but it was a little close. The guy who really led the transition out of the early to mid 80s to the later 80s was Jeff Stanton, without a doubt. In the spring of '89, Rick Johnson was the best rider in the world, but at the Gainesville National, Rick had his wrist broken. And Jeff Stanton, who had been hired by Honda at Rick's recommendation that year, was immediately thrust into the role of team leader. And Jeff had never really been, you know, a super top caliber rider up to that point. Well, Jeff started winning right away. And then he was drafted to the Motocross Das Nações, and they went over and won.
Dude, I loved it. That's all I want to do is go there and race those Euros and kick their butts, and to bring it back home. I did it 4 years in a row. Brought home Motocross Das Nações victories.
We're getting into the early 90s, and America still hasn't lost. And what's going on is people start wanting to not ride for the team because they don't want to be on the team that loses. Jeff Emig was starting to come into his own as a 125 rider, so Jeff was put on the team. Jeff would say, you know, I'm not an Army guy, I never go in the military, so if I'm ever asked to be on the team, I'm going to always do it because it's my way of paying my country back. They decide to pick him, and he goes there and they win. So it was like America just can't lose.
All of the top guys, they didn't want to go. They had won 13 years. We're going to lose sometime. Nobody wanted to be on that losing team, but we just kept going.
'94, they go to Roggenburg, Switzerland, and finally get beat.
The thing is when you lose, it really hurts.
Great Britain, who hadn't won the race since 1967, I believe, comes in total fluke, wins it in '94. Rob Herring, Paul Malin, and Kurt Nicole beat Mike Kudrowski, Mike LaRocco, and Jeff Emig.
Do I think about the '94 loss more than the 3 that I won? I know that I felt a real responsibility to all of American motocross. It was the worst race of my life, hands down. Can't think of a worse time. You know, we let everybody down. So that's what makes winning so much more special, and you can't take it for granted.
Jeff Emig and Team USA redeemed themselves in '96, but over the next 9 years, Team USA only won twice. Belgian riders such as Joël Smets and Stefan Everts were the new breed of champions.
If you wanted to be respected as a motocross rider in Belgium, you just had to win championships, otherwise you were just a nobody.
As they come into the first corner, it's Strybros from Belgium who gets the whole shot.
Team Belgium resurfaced to championship form, and the red, black and gold took over.
6-time world champion Joel Robert looks on.
Trying to win Motocross of Nations for so many years and being so close, it was every time such a big disappointment. And then to win it was, of course, a big day for me and for all of Belgium.
The next decade, the Belgians continued to flourish, and the United States lost its power. Team USA hit its lowest point in 2002, when an attempt to host the Motocross of Nations in California imploded, and the race was canceled. In 2005, it would take one rider to bring the luster back to the Motocross of Nations, Ricky Carmichael.
In 2005, the race went to France, and it was a sunny day. Everts was there, Carmichael was there.
Carmichael is out there, and of course the Americans have won this one. It's the American that goes into the lead. Carmichael is away with this one. He knows they've got it.
In one fell swoop, it seemed to bring the magic back. It happened again last year in England.
We reached a record, I think, in motocross of 85,000 fans coming in Winchester, and it was absolutely crazy.
Oh, Billy Poto's got off the track.
Ryan Villopoto's blazingly fast, but gets beat by Antonio Caroli in a moto.
And Everts goes into the lead.
Stefan Everts ends his career beating James Stewart.
Everts, to the delight of the crowd here, you are looking for the last time at the King. 10 times world champion, 101 Grand Prix.
One moment on the podium I will never forget, and it's when the people started to shout my name.
It was almost like both sides won a little bit. America won the race, but Europe was able to hold its chin up pretty high. So it leads into or segues into a really compelling race.
"50 miles south of Washington, D.C., the location has been chosen. Budds Creek Motocross Park has been in operation for over 30 years and is a landmark of American motocross.
Team America in the USA. I think the rest of the world's bringing white flags.
Budds Creek owner Jonathan Beasley has been campaigning for the Motocross of Nations for decades.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
This is the biggest day of Jonathan's life.
Let's go. This has been a lifelong dream. It's an amazing reality, and Mother Nature has been very kind. These little details get you every time. Turn everybody around and face them that way. Go ahead and park them.
Up to date, I think I promote over 250 World Championship events and big events. But I believe Sunday night my best memory will be this race. I have the feeling.
Major worry, none. Good staff, great racetrack. No.
Christine to Jonathan.
I'm being paged. Go ahead, Teeny.
Since 1985, the format of the Motocross of Nations has been the same. Each team has 3 members. 1 MX rider on a 450cc bike, 1 MX2 rider on a 250cc bike, and 1 open rider who has his choice of bike, but typically selects the stronger 450cc engine. There are 3 motos on the day, and each team member races twice. Moto 1 is the MX1 and MX2 class. Moto 2 is the MX2 and open class. And Moto 3 is the MX1 and open class. One of the teams that did have a shot at winning was New Zealand, but a practice crash put Ben Townley on the sidelines, and the team lost its backbone.
It's one of those races where so many people come over, and I really feel sorry, man, for all the people that come from New Zealand. I really want to put on a good effort for them and show them, you know, what we do, and it sucks to be standing on the side of the track with them. That's hard to swallow.
For the top countries, qualifying for Sunday's 3 main motos is expected. For the smaller nations, qualifying is in their wildest dreams, and just being here is an accomplishment alone.
The best weekend of my whole life. I mean, to see all those guys hanging out in the pits, shake their hands, and just being able to be one of 111 riders to ride the Motocross Das Nations. It's just, you can't ask for anything more.
I want to be here. This is where I want to success and live. So if I can maybe do a good race tomorrow, I will maybe stay here for the rest of my life.
Qualifying races determine who will race on Sunday, and the top 19 teams carry on to the main event. For those that finished outside the top 19, a final B race was held. For all other teams, this is the last chance. The winner will be given the last spot on the roster to round out the 20-team format. Among those vying for that final spot is Team Puerto Rico. The most endearing story of Team Puerto Rico is that of Tara Geiger. Tara is the first woman ever to compete in the Motocross of Nations.
I try not to think of it too much as being a big deal because I just want to go out there and ride, and I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm representing the women and, you know, first woman, all that, but it'll definitely be a big deal for the rest of my life that I did it.
I just think that it makes me want to ride more because she races really well. She's awesome. I think she's great.
Well, I know I don't really have a chance to ride against the top guys, you know, of the world, but maybe I can get a start with them and just see what they do, pick up a little speed. There's definitely people I can beat out there.
Another team fighting for a chance to race on Sunday is Team Brazil. Antonio Balbi's crash in the pre-qualifying rounds sent his team to the final B race.
I was riding pretty good. I was 7th, 8th for my moto, and I crashed really hard. That's why you had to do the B class today, because I have a gnarly crash.
Brazil is expected to be racing on Sunday, and the pressure is on. If one of the team riders doesn't place well in the B race, it will heavily jeopardize their chances to get to the main event on Sunday. The combined team score of all 3 riders determines if they move on.
I tell the other guys, not think about top 10 or top 20, just qualify, not think itself, let's think for the country. And Sunday, one time we're the man, let's go for it.
Well, here we go, folks. It's the B final, the last chance for those countries that did not qualify in the earlier rounds. Teams like Puerto Rico, Brazil, Iceland are all going for their last shot at Motocross Des Nations glory.
That's where we're at with this. You know, all I can tell you guys is I think we're in trouble.
Remember, only the team that comes in first will make it to the big dance.
You got to go up there with your head on right. You got to go in there ready to fight the biggest fight you've ever been in your life. But we need to be in that show. We cannot afford a bad start.
Sandoval. Geiger's in trouble. It looks like Puerto Rico's Tara Geiger has gone off the track and was tangled in some banners. 10 minutes plus 2 laps to go in this B main final. Brazil still in control of their own destiny. Brazil trying to get into the show. And it's Martin de Valles, Antonio Balbi, and De Silva Nunes in the top 3. So Martin de Valles doing all he can to show everybody that his time in America has been well spent. He's over a minute in front of Antonio Balbi in second. The problem though, Brazil has himself well in a position to go to the main event. Another rider give a Tara Geiger, number 105, the only woman in the event. So Tara Geiger representing not only Puerto Rico, but all of the women out there. Give a big old shout out to the 105 machine when she comes through your area. Waiting anxiously to see how this one plays out, but it's been Brazil since the drop of the gate that had themselves qualified for the A main if they're able to hold on to the positions they currently have. One more lap for Martin de Valles as he continues to lead the way. He'll receive the checkered flag, but we don't think it'll be enough for his country to get into the program. Brazil has themselves set up to go to the show.
There's a Brazilian down there waving his flag. Yes, he says, Brazil will go to the Motocross of Nations.
Tara Geiger and Team Puerto Rico did not have enough in them to advance. Nor did the rest of the underdog field.
Yeah!
It was one of those hardest races in all my life. Not because of the level, but I was riding so tight and so nervous because one thing when you ride for you, other thing when you ride for your nation and for other guys, you know. We coming for a country has no motocross at all, you know. There's no history about motocross in our country. I'm working so hard here in America and that's a little bit of bonus. I'm happy, but I still have 2 motos to do. That would be great.
And so it was Brazil claiming the final spot on the starting gate for the 2007 Motocross of Nations. And as the sun set on Budds Creek, the atmosphere for the most important race ever run on U.S. soil began to build. Sunday, September 23, 2007, 60 years of motocross history had boiled down to one day in the United States of America.
So welcome here, we're in America. This is the Red Bull Motocross of Nations 2007. We're at Budds Creek and just look at that capacity crowd.
It's a perfect day. Look at that. There's standing room only over there.
Traditionally a cooler time of the year. Today, a scorcher at Budds Creek.
This is the 2007 Red Bull Motocross of Nations. We are preparing for opening ceremony.
The first of 3 races on the day pair up the MX1 class of the 450cc bikes with the MX2 class of the 250cc bikes. In the MX1 class, the outright favorite is Team USA's Ricky Carmichael.
This is the curtain coming down, and the last race for me that will really mean something.
Lots and lots of Europeans who's coming here are coming to see him in his last race. So they not only come here to share of their own country, they also come to see Ricky Carmichael for the last time.
While Carmichael participated in the opening ceremony parade lap, his mechanic, Mike Goslip, began to show signs of tension.
The thing with Ricky doing this parade lap for these guys, he's getting screwed on prepping his gate. I mean, right now he's going to roll up to a gate that isn't prepped, right? So then how does he prep his gate? Half-ass it?
In the eyes of the thousands present, Carmichael winning the opening moto was a foregone conclusion. But in racing, nothing is ever certain. Keeping Carmichael honest in Moto 1 was Grant Langston, who was recently crowned AMA National Champion.
If people say, "Congrats, champ," they go, "You've probably heard it 100 times, like I get to hear it 100 more.
Flushed with confidence, Belgian Steve Ramon was straight off winning his first MX1 World Championship.
World champion, it brings quite a little bit of pressure, but okay, I can live with that.
In the absence of his brother Christophe, Sebastian Purcell has become team leader.
Je n'ai plus rien à faire entre guillemets à craindre de personne. Je me bats pour gagner et voilà.
And Chad Reed is Australia's hope to topple Carmichael.
I mean, what makes me want to be here is my country, you know? I want to give back. Yeah, I don't maybe have my Australian accent as strong as what it once was, but I'm as Australian as you can get.
Team USA's strategy is to give the MX2 bike the best gate pick. RC has given up the inside to his teammate, Ryan Villapoto, giving the smaller MX2 bike the best pick.
In the MX2 class, all eyes were on Team USA's Ryan Villapoto, the current US national champion, and Team Italy's Antonio Caroli, the current world champion.
Caroli, I raced against him for the first time last year, and he's fast.
At last year's Motocross of Nations, the two traded blows and were clawing to repeat the battle again.
Our team is probably the best, but I know there's some teams out there that are really good.
Great Britain's Tommy Searle was the MX2 runner-up to Caroli at the World Championships.
We won a podium. I mean, we have our won GPs, Billy's won GPs, so I think we can get some good results.
It is a great day to be an American motocross fan. It is a great day to be a world motocross fan. And we want you to find your spot along the fence as we get ready to make history in the United States of America.
The gate's about ready to drop, and here we go, heading into turn number 1. We got two guys down immediately out of the gate.
Unbelievable, 2 riders down coming out of the gate.
Villapoto's your leader, Ryan Villapoto, then it's Maximilian Nagal, Philippart, Searle. Ricky Carmichael is second to last.
Oh my goodness, now we've got ourselves some drama as Carmichael comes around second to last. and Villapoto and Nigel and Philip Parrott's running 1, 2, and 3. Ramon into the number 4 position.
Carmichael's already passed 5 people, and he's on the outside, taking the worst lines on the track. Carmichael is going to have to come through the field, and folks, keep your eyes on the number 1, because that's exactly what he's doing.
It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. Carmichael went down at the start of the moto, and a hush fell over the crowd. Eyes darted back and forth between Villapoto out front and pulling away, and Carmichael beginning to rip and tear his way through the pack.
Tad Reed now running to the number 5 position. Here comes Reed trying to make his way up into that number 4 position.
Chad Reed is the rider on the move. He's in the number 4 spot, but he's looking to move up. Another rider looking to move up, Steve Ramon, the world champion from Belgium. Grant Langston having a terrible ride so far. And Langston goes down. Langston goes down.
And Carmichael is up to 13th position.
Chad Reed back in number 4 position, and Purcell, the French rider, trying to move up. But Chad Reed right now, one of the quicker riders on the track, but not as quick as the number 2 of Ryan Villapoto.
As Carmichael charged his way up the leaderboard, Ryan Villapoto rode an unbelievable pace, pulling further and further away as the laps clicked off.
Carmichael has caught the pack. It's the battle for second that's holding up everybody and allowing Carmichael to close. Caroli's a world champion, about to be the next rider that comes and gets passed by Carmichael. Antonio Caroli drops a position down as Carmichael picks up yet another spot. Villapoto crashes. Ryan Villapoto was on the ground in number 101 machine. Jeremiah Israel caused that accident. And another favorite, Carioli gets clipped. So Caroli, the Italian, is having a tough day.
This word in for Caroli, his front brake is stuck on, so the front wheel will not move.
È una caduta, qualcosa ha fatto.
It is still Villapoto holding on to the number 1 position as they come around the bottom side of the racetrack. The United States has now moved into the number 1 points of Motocross of Nations.
Chad Reed, who had moved up into that number 3 spot, lost the spot. Chad Reed has fallen back to the number 4 position. Purcell, the French rider right now, continues to press on. He's on the red, white, and blue gear on the Kawasaki. He currently sits in the number 5 position. Oh, and do we have a battle shaping up for second place. Searle, Philipparts, Reed, and Purcell. What a moto for Great Britain rider Tommy Searle. The fans are letting him hear it here at Budds Creek. Chad Reed tries to go from 4th into 2nd. He picked up the rider in 3rd, but they were 3 wide. Helmet to helmet, bar to bar, coming across the jump. Chad Reed, the Australian rider, number 31. He's into the number 3 spot. Timmy's looking to move into 2nd. Chad Reed, Ricky Carmichael, the 2 fastest riders on the track. But Chad Reed, smooth as butter out front, the Australian rider. He's in the number 2 spot. He's leading the MX1 division. Carmichael's come from last place up to a podium position.
Three and a half minutes remain with the USA with 4 points, the French with 15, and the Spaniards are running with 19 points. They are 3rd overall. And how about Ryan Villapoto? Under horsepower. He has given up a lot of horsepower here today on the 250F. Villapoto takes the checkered flag. And from the United States of America and the Monster Kawasaki Pro Circuit team, Ryan Villapoto has won Moto number 1.
It's hard to emphasize the total domination Ryan Villapoto displayed in the opening moto. For the 30,000 fans who witnessed it, the performance was an instant classic. Meanwhile, Carmichael, who raced his way back to third, was not at all happy with the result.
I know he wasn't happy with it, but you know, you gotta look at the big picture. The big picture is that the team's gotta get good finishes. Can't throw it away again and have to, you know, sacrifice the whole thing for the team.
The surprise of the first moto was put up by Team France. Overlooked in pre-race media, Sebastian Purcell's 4th and Nicholas Aubin's 10th overall placed the team in solid second-place position. Chad Reed held up his end of the bargain for Team Australia with a second-place finish. But his teammate Andrew McFarlane crashed off the start and did not finish the moto. Australia was in trouble. As for Great Britain, Tommy Searle and Billy McKenzie finished 9th and 11th place. Although they expected better, it was still enough to keep them in the top 5 thus far. Moto number 1 put Team Italy in dire straits. David Philipparts had an excellent ride to finish 6th, while the hype-to-the-hill Caroli was forced out of the race early with a mechanical.
No, eri secondo, poi subito quarto. Sei andato fuori pista.
Another disappointment was Team Belgium. While MX1 world champion Steve Ramon was able to fight for a top 10 finish, his teammate Jeremy Van Hoorbeek finished a dismal 34th. As for South Africa, team manager Greg Albertine had seen better days.
Put it this way, the results totally stink, you know?
Both Langston and Swanepoel finished outside the top 10, which left them in 9th place. All MX2 riders that competed in the first race lined up again for their final moto of the day, including the phenomenal rider Ryan Villapoto and the frustrated Italian Antonio Caroli. The second race of the day also introduced the open class. Tim Ferry was the choice for Team USA and earned the right with strong finishes in the US Series.
Did that triple off? There's that mud puddle on the inside. I was just going land right in the middle and going with the cushion. It's right in the middle.
Fifth in the World Championships, Team Belgium's hopes for a podium finish rested on the shoulders of Ken de Dijker. Pierre René was the open class rider for Team France, and the open class field was rounded out by Australia's Michael Byrne, South Africa's Wyatt Avis, Italy's David Gunari, and Great Britain's James Noble. Ryan Villapoto led the second moto, while teammate Tim Ferry was knocked out in the first corner. Now it was Ferry who would be forced to charge from dead last.
So Tim Ferry starts out 37 and a horrific crash in the first turn, and it looks like the medics are out there.
We may have a red flag. We may have a red flag if the riders get to this section before the track is clear.
They are not going to throw the red flag. You can see the caution flaggers, and they are now set up to take the field around him. So Tim Ferry's going to have to work his butt off.
Caroli and Villapoto have hooked up. The world champ taking on the national champ. Caroli trying to run down Villapoto. Caroli blows the turn at the bottom of the hill. Caroli, who was in second, behind Villapoto, got blown off the track.
Che cazzo, andava bene. Sa come rischia questo, oh.
He's now deep in the field. Villapoto all alone out front.
With a sit-down riding style reminiscent of 1980s GP motocross, Ken de Dijker would get into second place and remain there. Just behind, Michael Byrne kept Australia in the hunt with his third place on-track position.
It's Villapoto and De Dijker running 1 and 2. Byrne and Searle and Caroli now into the number 5 ride. Renault into the number 6 position. Aubin and Swanepoel in 8. And now we see Barr and Campano into the number 10 ride. Villapoto, he's got an 8-second lead already.
Timmy Ferry's made his way around 7 riders, coming from way back in the pack.
And it is a rerun from moto number 1. Villapoto gets the start. The other American starts out last.
Caroli having a horrible moto right now. A tough break for the world champion. He went down as he blew the corner. He may have lost his entire front wheel.
Non è possibile. E pronti fermi,
Ha fatto la roba.
Lo so, hanno preso 3 botte, tamponato quello, ha tamponato qui, hanno tamponato.
Villapoto with an awful big lead right now. De Dijker into the number 2 position. The Belgium rider has a very comfortable lead over the battle that's shaping up right now between Tommy Searle. The rider in the number 4 spot is Michael Byrne and Pierre Rene. All these riders trying to get up into a position. We see the freight train of GP riders coming up the hill. Villapoto already gone.
La roda, 22. Piano martello per tirare fuori il perno. Ma è caduto, qualcosa ha fatto. Non è una giornata,
You see Ferry coming back down into the infield right now. A number of riders wait to be attacked by the Red Dog. And Tim Ferry's all the way up into 15. De Dijker, the Belgian rider, rider number 6 on the Honda, one of the tallest men in all of motorsports. De Dijker well over 6'3", but he continues to press after Villapoto. And here comes Villapoto through lap traffic. Ryan Villapoto lapping already.
Tim Ferry is running a 2-minute 17-second lap time. That is the second fastest lap time on the racetrack. And he's going about a second faster than most of the riders. So Tim Ferry, he's got a chance. And Tim Ferry, he is an underdog. He's the Red Dog, and he's coming your way.
France and Spain all moving up. Spain right now into the number 3 position as a team.
But how about Ryan Villapoto? He has been unbelievable here today. What a testament to American motocross as we take on the world in our own backyard. And now we see USA with 13 points. The French is now currently 2nd on the leaderboard there. Tim Ferry, he moves into the number 7 ride.
The track becoming treacherous, but as Roger DeCoster just pointed out, maybe the toughest thing are the shadows on the track right now. Coming out of the tree lines, you're not able to see the ruts you want to pick. The braking bumps, the acceleration bump almost caused havoc to Villapoto a lap ago. So the track getting more treacherous as the day goes on. So 2 more laps for Ryan Villapoto. He's over a minute in front of Ken De Dijker. Tommy Searle is another 13 seconds back. Then you have Ferry, and Tim Ferry can actually possibly pick up 1 more position. We'll see if Ferry can't reel him in on the white flag lap. He's going to need a little encouragement from you race fans, though. In front of the rider, Tim Ferry's caught him. The Red Dog is all over him. Ferry picks up the number 4 position as the rider goes down. The next time Ryan Villapoto comes around on the number 2 machine, going for a perfect 1-1 day in the overall honors. Folks, make some noise for Ryan Villapoto. De Dijker still holds on to the number 2 spot. Tommy Searle from Great Britain still runs 3rd.
Just like Carmichael had done in the opening moto, Tim Ferry rode his way through bad luck and adversity to end up in 4th place. During the past 20 years, Johnny O'Mara's epic ride of 1986 has been called the greatest individual effort in the event's modern era. In one afternoon, Ryan Villapoto revised history. So brilliant was the American's performance, its reverberations will be felt for decades. Again, Team France surprised the naysayers. Open class rider Pierre René impressed the crowds with an amazing 5th place finish. Nicolas Aubin was right behind him in 6th. Still, the French held down 2nd place. Team South Africa's MX2 rider Gareth Swanepoel broke his foot in Moto 2 and could only finish 36th. And open class rider Wyatt Avis could only fare 19th position, putting South Africa 12th. Team Belgium struck back as open class rider Ken de Dijker powered to a 2nd place finish. His fellow Belgian MX2 rider Jeremy van Hoorbeek revived himself and finished a much stronger top 10 to round off his day, putting the Belgians in 4th place. As he had hoped, Great Britain's Tommy Searle charged to a 3rd place in the 2nd moto. But Tommy's finish was offset by teammate James Noble's 38th place. Great Britain sat in 5th place with 1 moto left. Moto number 2 put an end to any hopes Team Italy had of reaching the podium with Caroli's 14th place finish. Teammate David Guarnari placed immediately behind in 15th.
Ma chi t'ha centrato lì?
Nessuno, vai, hanno fatto il triplo, c'era il canaletto stretto, di solito non fa interno, però io ce l'ho fatta, sono stato interno, però gli si aspetta la moto del canale e io dietro un po'.
Boh! No, ti ha strappato il tiraggio, ha strappato.
Ma che cazzo ha fatto?
Che cazzo?
Guarda, sai cos'è?
As the bikes idled to the starting gate for the day's final moto, France held control of 2nd place. Hoping to live up to Belgium's remarkable history, riders Steve Ramon and Ken de Dijker desperately wanted to put the team on the podium. Australia, Italy, South Africa, and all the other nations only had pride left to fight for. All 3 members of Team USA had shown grace under pressure. Ricky Carmichael and Tim Ferry were 1 moto away from slamming American dominance.
You know a big right-off camber? Yeah. Did you go inside just now?
No, I went to the outside. The inside looked good.
Yeah, there's somebody made a new one. Kind of like how you were cutting that one line. Somebody cut a real tight one. So.
Hey. This is for all the bacon right here, your last one, huh?
This would be the final act of Ricky Carmichael's career.
And Ricky Carmichael grabs a hole shot. Carmichael into turn number 1. And it's 1st and 10 for RC. He's already got a 3, 4, 5 bike length lead for Ricky Carmichael as he now goes around the outside of the racetrack. Tad Reed way back in the field right now. Team Australia needs Reedy to step it up. The world champion, Steve Ramon, is in the number 2 position, and Timmy Ferry is trying to run him down. Carmichael on the United States team, and he holds on to that number 1 position.
After a dismal opening moto, Grant Langston came into the final race of the day, determined to be a spoiler. Meanwhile, bad luck destroyed Chad Reed, ending Team Australia's run, while Tim Ferry had Steve Ramon at 2nd place in his sight.
Timmy Red Dog Ferry trying to reel down the world champion Steve Ramon. Timmy Ferry has that Kawasaki hooked up, and Tim Ferry's all over him like a cheap date. Here comes Stevie Ramon, and here comes Tim Ferry. And Budds Creek, if Tim Ferry ever needed you, he needs you now. USA number 1. So it's Carmichael, Ramon, Ferry, Langston right now. Tanio Leok, Philip Hart, and there is the Dijker in 7th. Carmichael comes through the old finish line area up past the announcer's tower. The Belgian team continuing to soldier on, and it's Steve Ramon holding up their honor, the Suzuki rider. Ramon works the inside. Ferry starting to use some of his lines. Ramon has some very creative lines. Here comes Ramon. Ramon followed by Ferry, and Ferry stays on the gas. It is a chess match here. The world champion, Steve Ramon, will not let Tim Ferry by. The Belgium trying to hold off the American. Don't go anywhere because settle in for the greatest outdoor battle in the world. Ferry's going after Ramon. He's working all the angles of the track right now. 5 minutes to go plus 2 laps, and I'm telling you, no one's left the building yet. Come on, Bud's Creek, make some noise for all these competitors. Black riders in front of both of these riders. Ramon's gonna cut him. Ferry's gonna work the inside. We see the flag and Ferry beats him to the corner. But Ramon, they're drag racing up the hill.
He comes down to the bottom of the mountain. Timmy Ferry has taken over the number 2 position around the world champion, Stevie Ramon. And Red Dog's dad, Tim Ferry, is with us. You've got to be happy here.
I'm excited so much for Timmy and all these fans, the American fans, and let's do it, yeah!
In what he would later call the highlight of his career, Tim Ferry passed world champion Steve Ramon to take control of the open class overall.
Another rider on the move. We got to keep our eye on Great Britain, Billy McKenzie. Billy McKenzie turning a fast lap time.
He's on the gas. He's in 12 right now. He's got great lap times. And Billy McKenzie and Great Britain are coming. Come on, Billy!
The Diker right now riding without goggles, so that's a very tough way to go when you're trying to pick up position.
Now we got Carmichael, Ferry, Ramon, Langston. They continue to do battle here. But the French and the Belgium are at it here on American soils.
As they had all day long, the upstart French team refused to yield their hard-earned runner-up position.
Une 13, il est plus vite, il est plus vite.
With every pass the French riders make, it's a point they take away from Team Belgium.
Those two have been fighting for centuries, and now they're fighting again on the motocross track.
Belgium cannot afford to lose a single position in this moto if they want to secure second overall. Here comes Ramon. Ramon all alone in the number 3 position, the world champion. We look a little farther back, and here comes the Zulu Warrior. Grant Langston riding for South Africa.
Trying to get up and around the number 4 Ramon.
Langston has reeled him in. Langston is starting to catch him. He's putting pressure on. I don't know if Ramon knew he was coming, but there's no quitting the Zulu Warrior.
He got it, and that secures the French position. Moving up to get him more points, so the French is better off now. Thank God to their friend from Grant Langston and the Zulu Warrior. France has now gone ahead of Belgium for the runner-up position. And the 1 card is coming out for Ricky Carmichael.
So Langston has moved up into a position where he'll find himself on the podium in the final moto with the 3rd. Timmy Ferry in 2nd, and Ricky Carmichael's your leader.
Total domination here at Bud's Creek, Maryland by the United States team as Ricky Carmichael has won 1 moto. Ryan Villapoto wins 2 motos, and Tim Ferry, he came rushing back.
USA!
And the fans, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you do not get on the racetrack at any time. It is indeed total domination for the United States of America.
Ricky, Brian, Red Dog!
And so it is. Ricky Carmichael has just won the 3rd and final moto of the 2007 Motocross of Nations here at Bud's Creek, Maryland. And oh, what a day, what a celebration, a dream come true for the United States. And now, Ricky Carmichael and Tim Ferry and Ryan Villapoto are number 1 in the world and will get to keep the Chamberlain Cup for another year.
I feel proud. I mean, And when you see all the people waving the flag and the songs are going in the background and you just won everything, it's incredible. You know, it's like you're at the Olympics and you just won the gold medal and they're up there singing the national anthem.
On est vraiment content parce que on pensait pas faire deux et puis c'est vraiment bien. Vraiment content et
I think everybody has to admit that Team USA was like from another planet today. So for us, I think second place would have felt like a victory, I think.
Belgium settled for third place as they landed only 1 point behind Team France. As it was for the Brits in the 50s, the Swedes in the 60s, the Belgians in the 70s, and the Americans in the 80s, the event today still stands for pride, nationalism, and a united cause. The 2007 Motocross of Nations truly was 60 years and a day.
wrong with the world, mama? People living like wrong with the 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 world, mama. People killing, people dying, children hurt and you hear them crying. Can you practice what you preach? And would you turn the other cheek?